It feels good to be back in the chair between Miami, Los Angeles, and all the different places that we've been to in the past. Oh my God, a few weeks. It's good to be back at home in the chair, getting talking untold stories. There's so many companies that I've met in the past 2 weeks. So many people that I've met, different products in this industry. I'm so excited to talk about it I'm like re-energized. I'm been so passionate lately in the past few weeks of walking around during meetings because of what's been being developed in this space. But I don't want to jump too quickly. What is up, everyone? I am Charlie Shrem, and you are listening and watching another epic episode of Untold Stories, where twice a week together we get to dive deep with some of crypto's most influential leaders to truly understand how this movement came to be. We weave a nuanced narrative, talk about early Bitcoin, talk about all these different things that are happening in our space, trying to teach what's going on. And we talk about a lot of different subjects and everything like that. And joining me today is Charles Guillemet. Charles, thank you so much for coming on Untold Stories today.
Hey, Charlie, thank you for having me. Same for me. I'm very excited these days because this is a little bit the end of COVID. We can go to conference again. So that was I was in Bitcoin Miami last week, and that was crazy. The atmosphere was very good. A lot of energy, a lot of new products, announcement, and so on. I had a very good week, and that was great. So thank you for having me.
Of course. I want to hear what your feedback about Bitcoin Miami in a second. I'm going to give everyone your background. I want to hear your feedback, and I want to talk about also like the future of hardware in a virtual world. We're moving towards this whole world, and so just to give a little bit of background, you joined Ledger in 2017 as the chief security officer after working for 10 years in the cryptography and hardware security sector. You're the creator of Donjon, which is the company's security research department. You're now the CTO, the chief technology officer. And for those who don't know, the Ledger wallet is probably one of the top two or three OG hardware Bitcoin and now crypto wallets that launched. I don't even know. Like, I just say it's like almost a decade ago because it feels like this company's been around for a long time. One of the first hardware wallets actually in the space, and one of the first companies to really push for like decentralization, controlling your own keys, but at the same time be able to interface with the whole uh, Bitcoin, crypto, metaverse, Web3 world, but at the same time still have all the safety of controlling your own keys. Thanks for joining again today. And yeah, tell me about Bitcoin Miami. What were your thoughts?
A lot of good vibe. And you were mentioning the different hardware wallets, and for the first time in my life, I had the opportunity to meet NVK from Coldcard and Pavel Rusnak from Trezor, and we had a good discussion together about future of our hardware wallet and so on. In the past, like you mentioned, that I created the Donjon, which is our internal security research team. And at the beginning, what we did at the Donjon is to try to understand how different hardware wallet works, and we finally found some vulnerabilities on most of them, and we were working with them in order to improve the security of their product. So that was great to meet them face to face. Also, I had the opportunity to meet a few new players in the field. So there are more and more hardware wallets, which is a good thing. It will improve, increase the bar in terms of security on one side, in terms of UX. Because yes, you mentioned that also we are in a more and more digital world, so it can look a little bit weird. This hardware things. The thing is, when you own cryptocurrency, what you really own is your private key, and if ever you lose your private key, you will lose your crypto. There is nothing you can do. We cannot revert transaction as the blockchain is immutable, as you know. So securing your private key is paramount. And as of today, the only way to do that well, to secure your keys to secure your private keys well is to use hardware, wallet. So you put your keys in a secure environment, in a secure enclave, and this is the only way to secure your keys.
It's really beautiful. Like the hardware wallet itself, the ledger, the different ledgers that I've had over the year. I have a drawer over there uh with probably one of every different ledger, tracer, cold card. Like I'm a big hardware wallet junkie. I just feel like it's nice to have something physical, and at the same time you harbored on something very interesting when you're, and this is it's actually pretty beautiful when you're holding a coin, you're not, or a token, you're not actually holding that coin or token. You're holding on to a private key, which is the right to interact with that token smart contract, whether you want to move it or if it's Bitcoin, move it from one account to the next or whatever. But and that's a very, very interesting thing. And this is what really freaks me out is that everyone I talk to, and I'm going to call a lot of people out right now. Um, we're in this insane world with $500,000 plus NFTs, uh, multi-million dollar tokens. People are sitting on portfolios of tens of thousands of dollars plus 5,000, $15 million plus. And what are they doing? What are they doing, Charles? They're opening up MetaMask, they're saving a screenshot of it and then keeping it on their Dropbox or writing down a private key somewhere and they're putting it in a piece of paper. Paper disintegrates. You're going to lose, hackers get into your computer. We're talking about like don't trust verify and building out like self custody solutions, yet we're talking about building the next level. I mean, at the end of the day, I rather you keep funds in your bank account versus keeping a private key, on a screenshot on your Dropbox. Why are people still doing this?
Yeah, the thing is, it's blockchain paradigm is a new thing, and it's not easy to understand. Uh, Newcomers in the field know well the paradigm of bank, and this paradigm of bank is not really applicable for crypto. Crypto is about self custody. It's about self sovereignty. It's about owning your value, owning your coin, and um, this is something very, very different. When you have an account on exchange, then you are on in the bank model. You ask the permission to the exchange as soon as you want to make a transaction. So this is the banking model. But crypto, Bitcoin is about self custody. It's about really owning your value. And what does it mean, owning your value? It means like being able to prove you really own your coin. Because at the end, your coin are on the blockchain. They are not in your hardware wallet. They are not in your MetaMask. They are on the blockchain. What is in your hardware wallet is your private key, and your private key is just a cryptographic piece of data which allows you to prove that you actually own this specific Bitcoin that you want to spend. So that's why this private key, securing this private key is critical. And you mentioned that like today we have people who secure several millions in their MetaMask, and what will happen to them is they will get wrecked at some point. There was no question about that. Today we are very early, and attackers are not really interested in this field. For now, attacks are more around phishing and scam and so on because this is low hanging fruit. But the ecosystem will continue to grow. The value will continue to grow. So I know very well security. This is my field since I'm 12, probably, and I can say something. When the stakes are high, attackers are coming there, and they come with high potential, and they get the money. As of today, we have mostly phishing attack and scam because this is easy. It doesn't cost a lot, and you can get a lot of value from that. But what we will see in the near future is software attacks at scale. If you start to use like 0 days on your Android on computer, you will be able to get an access to the private key of every single MetaMask in the field. And
Oh my
This
gosh.
is a big issue for users, but this is also a big issue for our ecosystem. Today, we start to see a couple of targeted attacks. So at the beginning, we were mostly seeing like SIM swap attack on exchanges. Probably you remember these times. Now we see less and less such attacks, but we start to see targeted attacks
Oh my god.
on different people using MetaMask, and they are targeted because they are known to have a lot of value. But tomorrow, I fear that we will see attack at scale, and it will be something very different.
Why are you talk about SIM swaps for a second, and I didn't intend to bring this up, but I feel like it's like one of those like glaring emergencies for people in the crypto space, especially if your cell phone number is public, and especially if you're very active on social media. Hackers will what they'll do is they'll connect that and they'll go into a Verizon or AT&T or Sprint or wherever you are around the world. Most of the time, there's an insider, and they'll take your phone number and they'll reset all your passwords, reset all your crypto. This happens probably 50,000 times a day. A mutual friend of ours, Mike, our friend Michael Turpin, is actually suing AT&T for like $40 million because it was an insider and there was a kid that was arrested that worked. My cell phone was SIM swapped twice, actually. Well, my wife's cell phone was SIM swapped a few years ago, and then they texted me from her number saying, "Give us 30 Bitcoin, and we'll give you her number back." And I said, "F you, I don't care about this number or whatever." And then and I got it back. And then the second time was I got a text message in the middle of the night, and like no one should ever use their phone numbers for two-factor authentication. And I got a text in the middle of the night saying like my number was ported away, and I flipped out and my number was taken. But my friend Hasib runs a company called Ifani, EFANI.com. And Ifani is the coolest company because it's a cell phone carrier on top of your current carrier. And he was able to actually, in the middle of the night, I called him. He owns a cell phone company, a carrier. So he was actually able to take my number back from the hacker within like 2 hours of my number being taken away. And it was like a watershed moment when he called my wife from my own number. And he's like, "I got your number back." And I've been on Ifani, which is his locked carrier plan since then because of that. It's crazy. SIM swap is scary.
Yeah, definitely. And again, this is a low hanging fruit. As an attacker, it's very easy to do SIM swap attack. Like you just have to call to call the carrier and either convince it that you are the one you pretend to be, or you have to work with an insider. This is very easy to implement. And if you are securing something of value with your SMS as a second factor authentication, then the attacker will use it. And unfortunately, some exchanges are using SMS as a two-factor authentication. So the attackers go in that direction. They just do a SIM swap, then they pretend to be you on the exchange. They click on the password reset or something. They receive the SMS, and then they have an access to your exchange. So again, if you have something of value, don't secure it with your SMS as a 2FA. But better than this, don't trust anyone to secure your value. Like blockchain and Web3 and Bitcoin is about self-sovereignty, and self-sovereignty comes with self-custody. So this would be my message.
So you have you guys just launched the Ledger Nano S Plus new hardware wallet. It's compliant, it's top security, Bitcoin, crypto, NFT relationships within the app, within the hardware wallet itself. Can you give a little bit of background on hardware wallets, kind of the history, why they're important, and why they're the de facto best way to secure your crypto?
As I mentioned before, when you put your private key in MetaMask, if ever you have a malware on your computer or on your mobile phone, the malware will get an access to your private key, and it's done. You will lose your crypto. So securing this private key is paramount. So that's why we have implemented these nano devices. So it's a small piece of hardware. Inside there is a secure element. A secure element is a dedicated circuit which is in charge of security. And with this, and there is a little screen on it, dedicated screen. And with this device, we are fulfilling three different security properties. The first one is the private key storage. In crypto, we call it a seed because we will derive all the private key for all your crypto from this seed. And so this seed is generated inside this secure element, and it will be stored securely in this secure element. So this is the first property, like storing securely your private key. The second one is where is your cryptography implemented? Because as soon as you want to create a transaction or you want to receive funds, you have to implement cryptography. You need to compute elliptic curve cryptography, to compute signature, to compute hash, different things. So if your keys have to leave the devices and to go to your computer, it wouldn't be secure because it would expose the key, and that's why the cryptography is implemented within the secure element.
So your
As soon as you want
keys
to
never leave
do
this device with the secure element,
exactly,
but then how
exactly,
what's the relationship between my computer and the device and then back to the computer? Is it just like the software asks permission? But then how does it work?
yeah. In the threat model of hardware wallet, your computer can be completely compromised. You can have a virus, malware on your computer. This is not a big deal because your key remain inside the device and they never leave the device, as you mentioned. Your laptop or your computer, your mobile phone, does only public thing. Like it will synchronize the blockchain. It will tell you, okay, you have this amount of Bitcoin. Here is your address, and so on. But as soon as you want to create a transaction, then the software wallet on your computer will prepare the transaction, saying, okay, Charlie, you are about to send 1 Bitcoin to Charles, to me, addresses, and then it will prepare the raw transaction. It will send this raw transaction to the device, and then come the third property. The third property is what you see is what you sign. On the device, you have a screen, and on this screen, you will be able to verify independently from your computer the transaction you are about to sign. So on the device, it will be displayed. Okay, Charlie, you are about to send 1 Bitcoin to Charles' address. Are you happy with that? And if you consent, you click on the button, and then the device will sign the transaction, send it to the computer, and the computer will send it to the blockchain. So those are the three properties. First of all, the keys are stored inside the device. Second, they never leave the device. All the cryptography is implemented inside the device. And the third property is as soon as you use these cryptographic materials, you will, as a user, you will be requested to consent to this transaction. This is the what you see is what you sign, which is achieved with a trusted display, a display which is directly connected to the secure element inside the device.
Is there a way, so one of the main reasons that people give up control of their private keys is to right now is to earn yield. That's been the biggest driver of it. So you have people but buying, it used to be that you give up your private keys in order to interface with a Bitcoin exchange or a crypto exchange. But this was like the pre-smart contract world, right? And then you use something like MetaMask or whatever on Ethereum, and then on that instance, I can understand how I could have my Ether on my Ledger wallet, and then I could ask permission, it comes back, and I could potentially get my Ethereum in some liquidity pool and earn some yield in a very secure way. Is there a way to earn yield on Bitcoin in a more decentralized way that you're aware of? Are people storing Bitcoin only on Ledger, or is there a relationship that I could have that's not depositing my Bitcoin on an exchange to earn like yield or something?
Yeah, earning yield on Bitcoin especially is not very easy, and most often this is like centralized exchange which propose this kind of services because they lend Bitcoin to others and so on. Um, there is also some opportunity to get yield on Bitcoin using like wrapped Bitcoin on different blockchain, but
Yeah.
is it really Bitcoin? Can be debated. So on Bitcoin especially, it's not that easy to earn yield because it's not part of the equation. It's far easier on other blockchain, especially Ethereum. And on Ethereum, then you come the smart contract interaction because you will interact with different smart contracts. Sending Ethereum on Ethereum blockchain is the same thing as on Bitcoin. There are a few differences, but this is something very easy. But as soon as you start to interact with OpenSea, with DEX, then what you do is interacting with a smart contract, with NFT, for instance, also, and interacting with such smart contract is much more complex than just sending Bitcoin. And this is where the what you see is what you sign is paramount. And because if you think you are signing a transaction on Ethereum while this is another, you could consent for something where you would give your money to someone else. So this is why we implement what you see is what you sign, clear signing on Ethereum, as much
Oh, I
as
like that.
possible.
What you see is what you sign. That's really cool. Like what you see is what you get or whatever.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
and
nice.
and we have implemented it on the NFT very recently because more and more users want to interact with NFT on the decentralized exchange, on OpenSea, and so on. And that's why we have implemented the support of NFT on our devices. But what we see is more and more new smart contracts, which are more and more complex. So we are opening our stack in order to make sure that external developer can implement the support of their very smart contract in order to have the clear signing on the device.
It sounds like a security is what gets you very excited. What are some of the things that you're working on in Donjon in your security department? And like walking around Bitcoin Miami, back to Bitcoin Miami for a second, any like did you walk around the exhibit hall? Anything exciting that you stood out for you that you wanted to follow up with different people or companies?
To stay on the security side, so as I mentioned, yes, security is the value proposition of Ledger, but I think security must come with UX because if you create the most
Ah,
secure device in the world, but no one want to use it because it's too complex or too cumbersome and so on, you don't solve any problem.
thank you for
But you
saying
need to
that. Yes, you're so that's the most brilliant thing I've heard all week. It's so true. If you can have the best security and decentralization in the world, but if you don't have a matched or better user experience, no one cares. That's not true. Not no
exactly.
one cares. I'll take a step back, but not enough of the mass world cares.
Yeah, and so this is so on the security side, I think we did a great job. Security is not a static thing. We need to improve and always raise the bar and so on. It's never finished. But on the UX, I think we have plenty of progress to do, and this is what we are working on. There are plenty of things which are very complex for mass adoption. Sometimes I'm thinking about my mother. Would she use our devices? No, because it's too complex. There are plenty of things which are too complex, and we are working on solving them. For instance, I'm thinking about all. As soon as you have something hexadecimal displayed on the device, someone who is not tech savvy, it's worrisome. What is this thing? Is there a bug? Am I losing my phone? So this is the kind of thing we need to solve. The 24 words, the hexadecimal of addresses, the smart contract interaction. You cannot. We display such things today because this is the most secure way to interact with crypto. But tomorrow we need to keep the security while removing these complex things. This is not for my mother. So this is what I think this is the mission for Ledger in the next months and years, because as I said, on the security side, we did a great job. We need to continue. But on the UX side, there are plenty of things to do in order to allow mass adoption. Today, we are completely in business to geek, and we need to go to business to customer.
So this is a good question. Is the security and user interface aspect solely relegated to the piece of hardware, or do you think its Ledger needs to maintain software and then also almost maintain the connections between Ledger and other pieces of software that want to integrate with it? Do you kind of see where I'm getting at here? You have to maintain and supervise the whole process. How do you do that?
So as I mentioned, our threat model is to make sure that even if your computer is completely compromised, as long as you are using your device,
It's crazy.
you are verifying your screen, your funds are secure. So this is our threat model. We don't really want to change it for now because this is the only way to secure crypto. So what we are working on is to make sure you have a nice UX on your computer and on your mobile phone. So this is a Ledger Live on one side. This is also improving connectivity because you can use MetaMask with your device, but sometimes it does not work so well and so on. You could use your device directly on the DApp. We need to improve this. Tomorrow, you will be able to connect your device to your favorite exchange in order to withdraw directly and so on. This is the kind of things we are working on. And on the device itself, we need to continue to have something minimal, but having a better UX because even with our device, the screen is small. Sometimes what is written is complex to understand. So this is also what we need to improve. So as I mentioned, this is twofold. Security, all the security is pushed back to the device. We need to improve the UX of it, but keeping as minimal as possible, only the security part. And all the nice interaction and nice interface lies on your computer or mobile phone. And for this, we need to improve connectivity and we need to improve the UX of our software, Ledger Live, for instance.
You started to make me think about SHA-256 as well. And a lot of people have been asking me lately on like quantum computing and what happens if the ability to hash a prime number or break down a prime number becomes infinitely, faster in computing power. You don't need much computing power to our whole the security of the whole internet almost depends on it, from brute forcing passwords to breaking private keys. What do you say to that? Is this something that it's a red herring we shouldn't really be worried about?
The short version of it is it doesn't keep me up at night at all. Now, the longer version is this quantum computing is an interesting field, but for now, it's only a research field. There are plenty of difficulties to solve in order to have something usable, able to really break modern crypto. Maybe it will happen. Maybe we will see it in our life, but this won't be tomorrow. And if it happens, it won't be like at once. There won't be a day like yesterday we cannot break crypto and today we can. This won't be something like that. This will be something progressive. At the beginning, it will cost billion and so on. So we would have time if ever it happens. We will have time to move from it. And if we have to move, there will be plenty of things because as of today, most of the cryptography is that we use is broken by quantum computing. If this quantum computing actually exists with a large number of qubits and so on, which is definitely not the case today, and I don't think it will happen anytime soon. So the good news is cryptographers have worked on this for years, and we have solution. We have some algorithm which are resistant against quantum computing. And by the way, I think OpenSSH just announced last week that they have integrated and standardized one of the quantum computer resistant algorithm. And today we have a standardization committee at the NIST these days, which is about to say this very algorithm is the one that we will use in order to be resistant against quantum computing. For now, there is no standard. but it will be there will be some in the next time. We don't have dates, but it's coming.
It's an unbelievable thing really to think about how encryption works, right? It's because human our brains can predict how long it'll take for computing processing power to break down a large, very large number into basically its two lowest primes, and that's what brute forcing a password is. Breaking, being able to reverse a Bitcoin transaction or break a block. It all comes down to breaking everything on the internet. It's really such an unbelievable thing if you think about it. That as long as our brains are smarter than that of a computer, uh, that'll be maintained. And that is the whole singularity thing kind of scares me a little bit too.
The thing is that today this is a human which create computer. So I don't know about the singularity. Will there be a moment in time where computer will be infinitely more intelligent than human? At some point, I've watched some presentation from Yann Lequin, who is a famous machine learning researcher, and he was like, "Yeah, machine learning is very efficient and so on, but uh, it it does not implement like human creativity. For now, these are not as intelligent as human in for this very thing. But we are entering in something very philosophical. Like what's the difference between a Turing machine and a human brain? Is it is the human brain a Turing machine? Maybe this is the case. Difficult to say.
I mean, yeah, where's the line there? Because we're made. It's crazy to think about, like our brain and electricity in the nervous system, and what we're made out of versus what machines are made out of. If we start to make machines more like humans, then what's the line? And this is the type of thing that I think about. Actually my old co-founder of BitInstant back in 2011. He would like he spent all of his time inserting things into his body, like NFT chips, NFC chips,
Mhm.
uh, just like brainwave. He would go to sleep at night and just like monitor his brains and do all these different things. He was like, he needed to be very into his body and he wanted to turn himself, he still is turning himself slowly into like a machine. And there was actually a security conference that I went to where you can go and someone was offering to insert like a chip into my finger, like right on the spot. But I'm afraid of needles, so I didn't really want to do it.
Yeah, what is funny is we often see this kind of guy like very interested in putting some electronics in their body and moving into something hybrid. Um, Often these guys are very like from the cypherpunk movement, and the cypherpunk are the same who created Bitcoin. So this is quite
True.
interesting because this is the same world. This is the same people.
It is this that is. It's the same people. It's the same. We were all a bunch of misfits, people that kind of didn't fit in other industries or other worlds or other societies. And kind of like the early Bitcoin people, we were all kind of like that. But you brought me back to thinking about something that someone asked me the other day too. Um, so smart contracts, security upgrades, like you said, it's not static. We're constantly making changes and updates. These things have brought us the advent of DeFi, NFTs, the ability to have yield curves, bonding curves, and liquidity pools, and DAOs, and limited partners, general partners, and DAOs, and stake weighted voting, and all these like amazing things that are making a lot of people a lot of money, but also like building out crazy cool software and technologies at the same time. But also, those same things are bringing us big hacks like the Ronin network, wormhole. These are just the
Oh
ones that
yes.
happened in the past month or so. They're happening all the time. What's what's happening here? Like, obviously, when you have new growing technologies, you're going to have, like you said, it's the largest treasure chest. Every hacker wants to hack into every blockchain every day because it's free money if you can do it. So it's constantly like pounding out. But what is happening in some of these hacks, and how can rate my listeners? How can my listeners kind of like protect themselves in the future?
So first of all, what is very interesting in this area is that a couple of brilliant engineers in get interested in Ethereum and Solidity and so on. And what they did is taking 100 years of finance engineering, and they automated this on a decentralized consensus machine and implemented algorithm to do exactly the same as the finance is doing for 100 years. And frankly, this is very like interesting. This is big what they did and what they are doing. Of course, there are plenty of hacks. Why? Because this is very early. For me, this is a POC. This is a live experiment. Ethereum exists for a couple of years, and we already have billions on it. Billions exchanged automatically on AMM. You have plenty of quite interesting things that we start to see, and with this kind of use case, this is finance. You have a big bounty. Like if you break a smart contract, then you can get millions and hundreds of millions. And this is what we see today. So we are learning the hard ways, I would say, but we are learning. We are improving this, and at some point we will get better at securing those and so on. And we are succeeding slowly. And another thing I wanted to mention is today we are spending a lot of time and resource and brain time on implementing these things on Ethereum layer one, and frankly, this is not scalable. This won't go anywhere, and we start to see that with the fees. As soon as there is plenty of users because the price is moving, fees are rocketing like crazy, and in order to make a simple transaction, you have to pay several hundred of dollars, and this is definitely not sustainable. And the solution to this is layer two. There was no debate. This is layer two, and I think this is a message for blockchain developers. Please stop building on layer one. Spend all your energy and the time on building on layer two. Layer two, you don't have this kind of constraint. You can build as complex a machine as you want, and you are secured by the Ethereum blockchain. So this should be my advice. And to go back to your point, what would be your advice to your friends that are interacting with smart contracts? Frankly, it's difficult. Smart contracts are something very new, and there will be hacks today, tomorrow. There was no debate about that. The I think the first thing I could say is don't put more money than you can afford to lose on this kind of thing. Don't remember that we are very early. This is the beginning of an experiment. Also, if if it's too beautiful to be true, maybe this is too beautiful to be true. Uh, this is something to remember. And finally, also there are different smart contracts. Some start to pass the test of time. When you have Uniswap, for instance, it's several years and it has never been hacked like hard. So we can start to think that this smart contract is a little more secure than some very new other smart contract. So this is a good balance of thinking, evaluating the risk, and so on. But of course, this is risky. And what we do at Ledger is providing security for your product keys, not for the smart contract with whom you're interacting. We don't know if they are secure or not yet. And this is also something we are working on, trying to standardize the security of the smart contract with which you are working, you are interacting. So this is something where I'd like for us to raise the bar and to give some insight to our customers.
Yeah, I agree with that. The interactions with all smart contracts and the hardware wallets uh definitely need to be strengthened because there are like it's just the low hanging fruit. It's like the man in the middle attacks or someone getting into your email, or it's like the low hanging fruit stuff. That's where the hackers always go after. It's almost like too expensive to try to break a leather chip or something. But this may be a stupid question, but what happens if a hacker actually breaks or someone breaks into my house and takes my ledger? So is there a backup somewhere, and can I like have two ledgers with the same account? And then two, what if they get both ledgers? Can they can a thief or a hacker kind of like even physically break the ledger or plug it in and hack into the software?
So first of all, yes, we provide backup mechanism. So as soon as you initialize your device, don't forget to back up your seed phrase and to put it in a secure location, in a physical safe, for instance. And this is your backup. And if ever your device breaks or is stolen or you lose it, whatever, you can recover your funds with this seed phrase backup. Please don't forget to do that. Also, please avoid to take picture of your backup.
Yeah.
Avoid to write it on your computer because if there is a malware on your computer, you will lose it, of course. So on a piece of paper or on crypto steel, there are some device to secure backup. So this is the first thing. And if ever your device is stolen, as I mentioned, we have implemented our Nano devices for with the security hardware security in mind. So we are using secure element circuit, and this kind of circuit have been especially designed to resist to attackers, even with a physical access to the device. So I won't say it's impossible to break because in security this thing does not exist. We have made it incredibly difficult to break. So that means that if ever your device is stolen, there is it will be incredibly difficult to extract your secret from the device. As of now, there is no known way to do that. Nevertheless, if your device is stolen and you have a doubt, what you can do is to take your backup recovery phrase to recover it on a new device and to move your funds elsewhere. You will have time because as I said, we have designed our hardware to be secure against such attacks.
It's such a beautiful thing to constantly be able to work, and you're building out people's bank accounts in their wallet, but but that's what the old slogan was, right? Like I remember "Be Your Own Bank" was blockchain.info's slogan or something, I think it was. And then
Yeah.
and it was all about finance, finance, finance. But it's a changing world now. You're talking about the Ledger wallet is now your identity because you're holding your NFTs, which is an extension of like a cultural asset layer. It's an extension of your identity. But in the future, your the ownership of voting in where you live could be relegated to a private key that you hold on your Ledger device. And when it comes time to vote, that's the security. You can't doubt elections ever again because it's all on chain. I mean, the future is really epic. Uh, do you see hardware always needing to be something that needs to be separate? So I guess what I'm getting at here is like, could a ledger chip exist inside of an iPhone, for example?
It's a very good question. So first of all, I share your vision about the future of blockchain. Future of blockchain is not only about crypto, about money. Blockchain is about decentralization. It's about ownership. It's about self custody. It's about self sovereignty. It's about identity. It's all of this. This is the power of blockchain, and it gives back the power to the user. As of now, the only way to secure this really is with hardware. And as you mentioned it, like creating like ledger circuit and put them in your mobile phone is a wet dream. I would say this is something we would love to do. We are researching on these topics, and I hope to be able to announce something someday. But as of now, this is only some topics we are thinking about, because there is still this
Yeah.
question of making sure you are as secure as you would like, because when it comes to your identity, we talk about money. Okay, millions are interesting, but your identity is very valuable. You don't want it to be stolen by anyone. So this is something critical, and if we do that, we want to do that right. So, but yeah, this is a good idea, and I would love to tell it to you that we have solved this problem. Unfortunately, it's not the case yet.
You know what my next question is going to be, right? If the chip can exist in the iPhone, can I put the chip in my brain?
Now we
Yes,
are
this
in
is
more in a science fiction thing. Maybe in the future, but yeah, not
my
yet.
favorite author is Neil Stevenson from he wrote
Mhm.
like Cryptonomicon and Snow Crash, and I'm reading his new book now, and he's speaking at Consensus in Austin in I think it's June. And I typically
Okay.
never go to the Consensus events because it's a little more industry for me. But they asked me to speak, and I'm like, oh my god, Neil Stevenson's going to be there. I need to speak just because I just want to autograph. I'm really excited.
That's fun. Enjoy.
Yeah, Charles, thank you so much for taking the time and coming on Untold Stories and having some fun and teaching my listeners about, basic security practices, but kind of like what the future is and what gets you excited. And I'm gonna go play around with my ledgers, but I'm gonna go order the new one too. It looks really sexy.
Yeah, thank you for having me, Charlie. That was very interesting to have a talk together. And for your listeners, what you need to remember about crypto, it's about self custody. Don't leave your money on an exchange. And when it comes to self custody, hardware wallets are the best way to do that. And finally, the important advice: don't ever share your 24 words. Always verify what you do on your device. Do your backup on a recovery sheet, and don't take pictures of it. That's it. Stay safe and have fun.